Hello, I'm Thomas Hare, Chief Content Officer of the Performance Driven Marketing Institute, a not-for-profit trade association that serves companies in the performance and direct-to-consumer marketing world. Welcome to the latest episode of Take 20, created by the PDMI's Brand Response Council. These 20-minute live conversations featuring leaders in the performance marketing world speaking about the hottest topics in the industry are scheduled twice a month. Before we get to today's conversation, a housekeeping note: we'll be addressing any questions from the audience at the end of today's session, but you don't have to wait to ask them. Utilize the questions tab on your control panel to type and send your question in. We'll be collecting them and we'll try to get to as many as possible in the final moments of the episode. Today's episode, Blockchain and Media Advertising, addresses the transformational methodology and technology that isn't just for cryptocurrency. It's a system of recording information that creates better trust, security, and transparency. How does that help the performance marketing industry? With the digital ad space in continuous flux and uncertainty in claiming absolutely truthful attribution from real people or bots, blockchain may provide an unmatched level of clarity and verification because it's difficult, some say impossible, to change, hack, or cheat the blockchain system. We're happy to dive into these topics today with this great group of panelists. As always, we welcome our moderator and chair of the PDMI's Brand Response Council, Modern Postcards, Chris Foster, along with this trio of experts: Christopher Boone, an attorney at Venable LLP; Ron Hadler, Vice President, Data and Innovation for Red Door Interactive; and Matt Timothy, Executive Vice President of Customer Success at the PDMI's newest member, Blockboard. Chris, team, take it away.
Thanks so much, Thomas. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, gents. Really excited about this topic. And to be honest with you, it's a topic I don't know much about. From my perspective, and other folks have mentioned it as well, when I talked about hosting this broadcast, people put blockchain and cryptocurrency together in the same pairing, right? The first time I heard of the blockchain technology is when they talked about cryptocurrency, which was on the blockchain platform, neither of which I had heard about before until they were mentioned together. But clearly there's more to blockchain than just cryptocurrency. So Matt, I'm gonna go to you first. Can you talk about kind of the fundamentals of blockchain, just in layman's terms? Just tell us about what the approaches in the system is.
Sure, I'll tell it to you not from the perspective of cryptocurrency, but certainly from our perspective in the advertising space. And the simplest way that I can describe it, the way I describe it to clients, is I remember in math class, it wasn't enough just to have the answer. You had to show your work, right? And so what blockchain allows us to do is show our work and how we deliver the results for advertisers. It is a decentralized kind of ledger, and you can't mess with it. In a world full of fraud and fake impressions and everything else, it becomes a single source of truth. And it gives us tremendous confidence in the impressions that we choose to run. And when we run them, we know that they are human attention on legitimate sites. And like I said, it helps us show our work. So it allows a level of transparency that's not really widespread in the programmatic advertising industry at the moment. So from our kind of keyhole view of blockchain, that's the way we use it. It's not the end all be all, but it's an incredible tool to help us kind of put the advertising industry on the right footing so that advertisers know what they're getting for, what they're paying for, and what they got. So that's as non-buzzwordy of an answer as I can give you.
That's what we're looking for. So Ron, from an agency perspective, does that align up with how you kind of simplify and think in a plain speak way about blockchain?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the common metaphor is that, blockchain is a ledger, right? And the decentralization means that nobody necessarily owns it. It's distributed everywhere. So just having that means that nobody owns it. I think the other flip side of that is that, well, nobody owns it. And, the fact is nobody's accountable, right? So I think there's also some pluses and minuses there in regards to that. You've had, lots of negative news around, blockchain and things like that. And they're hard to point a finger at necessarily somebody because nobody owns the blockchain. They create the technology, stick it out there. But yeah, I mean, that is how we kind of talk about it. It's a ledger, it's immutable, I think, which is one of those things that helps with transparency, is that once you write it, it's written once and that can't be written over again. So that does help with transparency. I think, transparency in the media, being able to kind of hide or distribute your digital identity is another thing that, allows for things that the blockchain is good at. There is definitely a lot of things that are good for the blockchain and a lot of things that are not necessarily shouldn't be on the blockchain, like medical records.
That's right.
Right. Interesting. So I guess then, because there is a sense of truth about it, right? This ledger of truth and the immutable truth. Christopher, I guess I'll ask you. I'm assuming that the truth in advertising rules apply in the blockchain world, but how that might be different in blockchain from your perspective, from Venable?
Right. So all of the same kind of consumer protection, truth in advertising rules that would apply to advertisers are still going to apply regardless of the underlying technology used to deliver and track impressions and ads. Any type of platform that's being built, whether blockchain or otherwise, for example, will also need to kind of consider, privacy laws like California's children's privacy law about targeting minors under the age of 14, etc. All kind of need to be baked in. And one of the advantages that blockchain provides is that with the extra level of transparency that can be applied, if implemented correctly, can allow a more targeted approach. So from a regulatory perspective, compliance in some cases can actually be easier.
That's really interesting. Because one of the challenges that advertisers are going to be having in the next couple of years is that balance between compliancy and data mining, right? And connecting data. And we all know that this is still a fungible space in terms of what rules and applications apply, and when customers opt in or customers opt out, when do they do that and how do they do that? So I'm curious as to, with blockchain having this record from that advertiser, it almost makes it seem like the advertiser or the distributor has to be more aware of privacy regulations because they can't fudge the data once it's out there.
Absolutely. The kind of ostrich head in the sand approach will not work in a blockchain environment. Any data that is put on the blockchain will be publicly viewable to any node, any participant, including potentially a government participant. And so, that will not be kind of easy to hide. Not that I'd ever counsel a client to hide that, but your obligations and compliance responsibilities will need to be doubled up in a blockchain environment. In addition to just being a higher risk kind of category, governments view blockchain with some level of skepticism because of its association with cryptocurrency, which is only one use of blockchain technology. It was the first use and it's the most well-known use, but the technology is flexible and it can be used in many different industries. And I think we're starting to see governments and regulatory bodies kind of understand that more.
So I guess the question that I might have for you, Matt, is this going to be catching on, right? So the idea of the promise of blockchain, and I love that note, Christopher, where it actually has a lot of advantages for transparencies. It's advantages for regulatory folks because they can keep an eye on advertisers. It keeps advertisers more accountable, so then they're going to probably implement better best practices. So Matt, what do you think is the curve of adoption for blockchain?
It's a great question. So blockchain actually threatens to upend the programmatic scaffolding that we use in the ad business today, because it provides that clarity. And there's a lot of businesses in the ad world who are benefiting from the opaqueness, if you will, of the black box operating system. So there needs to be a will for it to catch on, right? And right now, people are actually profiting off of the opaqueness, off of the complexity, So it's catching on with our clients. We tend to deal with people whose lives and jobs and roles are closest to the result of advertising, right? Advertising traditionally through television, whatever, has been measured in media metrics, impressions, rating points, viewability, so on, all media metrics. But it's catching on with folks that are performance advertisers because they don't care about the media metrics. What they care about is, am I getting efficient results for this buy? And so to us, the way that we position it is that blockchain increases your level of confidence that this impression was a real human. And if you can get that to 100%, then the results that come out on the performance side are much, much more efficient. There is so much waste in this complicated system. So a long-winded answer, but is it catching on? Slowly.
So then I guess,
and a lot of it is this understanding, and I think Krista explained it and Ron as well explained it very, very well. People automatically assume it's like an NFT or it's in the cryptocurrency world, and they've heard the term, and it's really kind of a quasi understanding. And I call it kind of an Uber moment, like when we show them the results and we show them, like I said, when we show our work through what's stored in blockchain, they have an Uber moment. And what I mean by that is, I remember the first time I heard about Uber, and I was like, great, they're disrupting the black car industry. Godspeed, good luck, that's awesome. I hope they make a lot of money. Then I took an Uber and I realized, holy crap, this changes everything.
Sure.
Right? So when they see and feel the results of the confidence that can be provided through blockchain, that's when hearts and minds are changed. But right now, we've got to get it out of this kind of crypto gutter and more into the way that Chris was describing it, which is it's a very valuable tool, and it's got a lot of different applications.
So that's interesting. I love it getting out of the crypto gutter, and you're right. You have to start separating out crypto and blockchain. So Ron, when Matt was talking about the black box and the opaqueness and the complexity of some of these algorithms, you were nodding your head. You were like, oh, I've seen that. So from an advertising agency perspective, is a blockchain approach something you can advocate with your clients?
So we have not as of yet. But it's something that, we do set aside certain budgets with clients to, dabble in different platforms. And so it's definitely, on the horizon for things. Right now, we have not recommended anything so far. Doesn't mean we won't. As Matt alluded to, it is catching on. It is catching on slowly. And it is almost inevitable because it does provide the transparency everybody's looking for. There are too many folks double dipping when it comes to the advertising agency. And that's really kind of what this helps to eliminate. We're very transparent in all of our costs where we do it. So we're hoping to kind of like head in that direction. It seems like it will. And there's too many billions of dollars being invested in blockchain technology for you to ignore it. There's still a long ways to go.
Well, what's interesting about it, it's a nascent, and maybe this is the wrong way to phrase it, but it seems like it's a nascent platform, just in the way a decade plus ago, marketing automation was a nascent platform, right? When Marketo first came out with other marketing automation tools, businesses were slow to embrace it, but then suddenly it's normal and everybody's got it. So Christopher from Venable, I have a question for you then. As you kind of take a step back, from in the legal space, from the clients that you work with, what do you think might be a realistic timeline for blockchain to become more fully embraced and adopted? Not necessarily across the chasm to full adoption with the industry, but just moving out of its nascent stage and kind of steeping in the learning curve of, or not the learning curve, but rising in the curve of adoption.
I think we're starting to see that now, actually.
Okay.
A lot of state legislatures have in the past few years passed bills to study blockchain technology and how blockchain technology can actually be used in government. And it's totally divorced from any kind of cryptocurrency related aspect. They are focusing on blockchain and how either the transparency or the data management verification functionalities that blockchain offers. States are looking at that. And on the federal level, even on the cryptocurrency side, Senator Loomis just released the draft text for her cryptocurrency bill that is gaining some steam. Of course, I have no idea if it has a chance of actually passing, but between the cryptocurrency legislation, President Biden's executive order on cryptocurrency, we are seeing government starting to take blockchain and cryptocurrency seriously and actually learning about it, not just being dismissive. So that is, I think, on the kind of the middle of the curve for kind of understanding and kind of broader adoption. Not necessarily cryptocurrency or related to prices per se, but in the actual underlying technology.
That's interesting, because I would think that private industry is going to be ahead of where government is. But I would imagine that if industry now is looking at new privacy laws, kind of the Venn diagram of privacy laws that are coming out, perhaps overlapping with blockchain technology as a way to address some of those, changeable privacy laws, that it could be something that the industry wants to get ahead of. So I guess I'm going to have one last question because we're almost out of time. And I guess, Matt, I'll put this one to you. When talking about blockchain as an approach, what kind of learning curve does an advertiser or media organization or ad agency have to kind of get on the ramp?
Yeah, so you could say, is it a steep learning curve? I would say it's a steep unlearning curve, meaning that you have to take a really objective view of how business is being done right now and how you're doing business and what you're getting for what you're paying, right? And again, I'll refer to that Uber moment. Once our clients, our biggest obstacle in getting clients is getting them to understand and take that first step, right? The way Ron described it, they'll test a variety of things and they keep a certain budget open so they can test new things. That's what we look for. And then once they feel it and see it, they see the results. They just don't get media impressions back. They get performance results back, efficient performance results. Then it's not a steep learning curve at that point, right? But getting them over the hump of how it's applied to what they already know in the programmatic space, that's very, very different. So that's going to take some time to either, evolve on its own or a force function where, what we're seeing is more and more brand advertisers starting to demand performance, right? And I think that kind of thing is going to drive blockchain adoption and usage in the ad business faster.
Interesting.
Right? So yeah, I think that's going to be a big, big deal because all of the fraud and all of the waste and everything, it happens around the media metrics. And with the literal disillusion of Nielsen in front of our eyes as the last of the single source currencies, right? Everybody's going to have a different currency, but the one underlying measurement is going to be performance. Did that ad work or not? And the confidence to know that is going to be stored in the blockchain. And so, yeah, I think it's a steep learning curve. I think that the market forces are starting to push the market in that direction.
That's
I'm
interesting.
Very encouraged about it. And Ron said something that I think should not go unrepeated, and that is, this is inevitable. This is inevitable because of the amount of money that's spent and the amount of money that's wasted, literally stolen in this industry. Something like this has to occur where there's transparency, where an advertiser knows exactly what they're paying for and exactly what they got. And you need something like a blockchain to underpin it all.
I love it. I think the inevitability of it, to me, is what's most intriguing, right? And then it might end up being like most things where you see a couple of major notes about it, you read some industry headline, you see some brand adopting it, they adjust their metrics, and then suddenly it's a snowball effect that happens very quickly, and people move on it. People move on it en masse, right? Once they see that, it's that classic crossing the chasm moment, right? I'm gonna actually move to that higher level of adoption. Well, you guys, we are at 11:22. We are a perfect time now to take some questions from the audience. Thomas, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I got a couple good ones here. First one is actually for Chris Boone. And I think I'm going to try to restate the question a little bit. Is there a tipping point for when regulators might start looking at blockchain in media, or do you think the regulatory regime is pro-blockchain in media given this conversation today?
I think it's probably kind of on the pro-blockchain side. Regulators tend to apply their existing tool set, their existing authorities to new concepts and novel concepts. And I expect that same approach will be taken in the blockchain and advertising space. And while there will be a bit of a learning curve, both on the advertiser, publisher, kind of consumer side, but also on the regulator side, the kind of benefits will be apparent. And so I don't see any reason that regulators would take kind of an aggressive anti-blockchain approach in the advertising context, because it doesn't seem to kind of run afoul of any of their existing regulatory concerns or consumer protection concerns. As long as it's implemented correctly. If you're running a platform that's violating privacy laws left and right and hosting deceptive ads, then you'll be looked at, but for the same reasons that you would be using a non-blockchain technology.
Right, makes sense. I think the question comes from the fact that the talk of the transparency of blockchain technology seems like it's a big boon for it takes away the regulators' worry about what's real and what's not. I got one for you, Matt. During your talk about performance advertisers being the best targets for blockchain technology and media right now, are you seeing success with performance marketers in any particular verticals out there right now?
Yeah, so we've actually done very well in Medicare. We've done extraordinarily well with medical devices. We've done well in QSR, toy retailers. We've started pushing this in the political realm and had some really good success there as well. Yeah, it's look, every vertical benefits from more efficient buys and more transparent buys. So we see it working, and we're tremendously excited about it. And to be able to see it from soup to nuts, right? To see every part of it and have it transparent and understand how it worked and why it worked. That knowledge will just build on itself going forward. And so I think that performance advertising is going to be the coin of the realm in all of advertising, and brand advertising is going to take a back seat. So I think we're in the early days of that. At least in our short history at Blackboard, we're really encouraged, and we feel somewhat validated by the results that we're seeing.
That's really interesting, Matt, that most of the industries you mentioned are heavily regulated, which is obviously a good fit for blockchain, right? That all that compliance they have to go through, making sure they're hitting all those check boxes. Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm sure FDA, compliance industry also would be another one.
Oh,
yeah.
Good point, Ron. One last one. I'm actually going to give this one to you, Ron, even though it's kind of an open source question. So anyone wants to jump in after Ron, feel free. How can proponents of blockchain for media break through that average consumer's mental link of blockchain equals crypto?
Yeah, good question, because most of the negative news is around some sort of form of either NFTs or cryptocurrency, right? So they kind of associate that negativity with everything that goes on with blockchain. And I think that's really on the folks offering blockchain, because it needs to be simplified, and they need to basically prove proof in the pudding, because what's going on is that people, don't understand. They're worried about, getting ripped off. They're worried about things going awry or things like that. So it's really kind of on those platforms to kind of show what's going on. And as Maddie said, they're showing their work. So that's where, the kind of proof in the pudding is. So that's where I think really where you're at when it comes to that, because there is just a lot of negativity, and it's really kind of peaked around February of this year. And then of course, with the, collapse of, some major coins here in May, really just kind of took a lot of this to the back seat. But blockchain is not cryptocurrency. It's built on blockchain, but it is not blockchain. Blockchain is used for a lot of other things, and I think that's the message that needs to kind of continue to get out there.
Yeah, I love that, Ron. It's kind of like blockchain and then equals with a strike through it cryptocurrency, right? I mean, and using blockchain first, because blockchain from what is the hierarchy, right? Cryptocurrency is just one thing that rides on blockchain. A lot of people, I think, don't understand that at all.
Yeah, it's the generic technology that is used to, kind of build all of these things. They're all based on blockchain.
Awesome.
Well,
great.
Perfect.
Yeah, I can't improve on Ron. So.
Thanks, everybody. Really great conversation. I feel like we're kind of just scratching the surface here, which is probably a good thing, considering we run a new episode every 2 weeks. We'll probably have you all back here sometime in the pretty near future to continue the chat. Thank you, Chris Foster, for, again, your work as our tremendous moderator. Chris Boone, Matt Timothy, Ron Hadler. I'm looking at you in the order. I'm naming in the order that you appear on my screen. Thank you very much. You in the audience, your next opportunity to attend a live online Take 20 episode is Wednesday, June 22nd, as the Brown Response Council shares its summer reading list. Books our council members have found valuable in their performance marketing careers. Please visit thepdmi.com/take-20 to register for the webinar and check out our upcoming schedule. Also, registration and hotel reservations are open for our next in-person event, PDMI West at the Hard Rock Hotel San Diego, October 24th through 26th. Visit thepdmi.com/PDMI-West for more information and to book your badge today. Thanks again for checking out this episode of Take 20. Be well, take care, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks.